were into what is called email without a PC, using small devices called iStations.
Oh.
These iStations were using ordinary telephone lines for connecting. At that time, remember, there were no emails, that much particular. Computers were very, very rare. I'm talking about 2000.
Hi everyone, today we have a very amazing day because today we have Commander Arun J.Rao with us, who served Indian Defence, especially in Navy, and I am literally inspired by the work he did with for the defence, especially in the Indian Navy. And he is not only the defence personnel, he himself is a very good disciplined person, which I recently observed when I saw him speaking in our Independence Day. I would like to invite here Commander Arun J.Rao. Sir, thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. And in fact, I am very inspired by your background and all that you're doing for the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, the important things that I remember here, there is a poem in Hindi, which is written by Makhanlal Chaturvedi, that Pushp ki Abhilasha. Abhilasha means what a pushp, a flower wanted to do. So, and it is said that मुझे तोड़ लेना वनमाली, देना उस पथ पर फेंक, जिस पथ पर जाएं वीर अनेक, मातृभूमि को शीश झुकाने जिस पर जाएं वीर अनेक. So, a lot of respect, especially when it comes to the people from Army, Navy, or Air Force. Sir, share about your journey.
Thank you, Pankaj. I was fortunate to have been born in the family of military. My father was group captain, retired way back in 81. He served for about 32 years in the Air Force and retired. He was in the education branch and has had a lot of students under him whom he has trained.
Mm-hmm.
Having seen military right from birth, I also was fortunate to have got into one of the finest schools at that time. From 66 to 72, I practically finished off my education from 6 to 11 in Sainik School, Trivandrum, where my father was also the principal. I was fortunate to have got the best education there, fantastic teachers who were highly qualified, and they imbibed in us the finest of culture, Indian culture, quality education, and in fact to a great extent our English and Hindi being so good is a tribute to the teachers we have had in Sainik School. Subsequent to that, I had got selection after my 11th to almost various, I would say institutions, including engineering institutions, the science institutions. I was about to write the IAS exam at that time because we had appeared for everything. And in those times, the IAS was number 1 and military was number 2 because India was still in the early stages of development. I got the call for NDA and went straight there. In fact, I stood quite a high rank when I qualified, physically okay, fit, no problem, and joined NDA in June 1972. Journey of 3 years in NDA, one of the finest and toughest training that we could get. Finished off with that, and then subsequently went for my sea training in that time an old ship called INS Delhi, which was a training ship. That's of course decommissioned long back. And then I found that my education, my interest in academics was very high. In fact, in India also, I stood very high on the merit and passed out as a best naval cadet. But notwithstanding that, I felt that engineering would have been the ideal thing for me and joined the engineering branch in the Navy. Got qualified as an engineer in Naval College of Engineering, Lonavala, where we did the basic engineering course. Subsequently did my electrical specialization in INS Valsura with I would say sea training in between for competency, thus we should be competent enough to be on board warships. And after my journey of about 18 months in INS Valsura, which is the electrical establishment, mother establishment of the Navy, and we got all the equipment on weapons, electronics, and electrical engineering there. We went over for our first appointments. Our first appointment, I was on a missile ship. This was one of the coveted missile ships we just got at that time, the Nanuchka class. That is the Durg class that we had. I was on Vijaytu and spent a couple of years there and was on missiles. Prior to that, I had my missile training. I have been a surface to surface and surface to air missile man throughout in the Navy. And subsequently, I got selected for IIT and went for my post-graduation to IIT Kanpur. This was from 82 to 84, where I completed my MTech and had very good teachers and good project work there, followed by my postings on board ships. Subsequently in 85 I got married, and I was in actually a design establishment called in fact DMDE in Hyderabad, which actually was into nuclear submarine design. At that time, there was the first nuclear submarine we were designing, along with the BRC, who were doing the primary loop, that's the reactors, and we were doing the secondary loop, and it was a very interesting design stage because I had specialized in nuclear engineering and technology design in IIT, because of which I came here, could understand all the various loops. After that, I subsequently got posted to INS Shivaji, where I spent 2 years, one of the most wonderful years, as a teacher in the engineering establishment that I did my studies in. And subsequently went over to various other assignments in the Navy. There are many assignments I did in the Navy, may not be worthwhile talking on each one of them. But subsequently in about 91, 92, I realized that I was slowly losing grip of technology, which was very close to my heart, and I thought I should do something else after finishing my mandatory time in the Navy, because technology was very close to my heart and I wanted to be in touch. Those are the times where I'm not very sure whether you're aware of what is called a slide rule. We never had calculators in our time when we did engineering. We used what is called slide rules, and if I talk about that, people think that I'm anti.
What is this, sir? I heard this for the first time.
Slide rule is actually a logarithmic scale, and it's something which is used for doing calculations on the fly, multiplications, divisions, logarithms, and e to the power of x. All that you can do it on the fly. It's actually a logarithmic scale. I can show it to you. I have one. So I still preserve my. At that time there was a Diva and Aristocrat, which are the two brands. Aristocrat was expensive. It cost more than 100 rupees, whereas Diva was under 100. That time value of money was very high, way back in mid 70s. So once these came up, I'm getting back to where I was earlier. So we never had cell phones or any of these communication devices. So most of our research or efforts or whatever we had to find more from books, libraries, papers, and all these things, which are very important and critical for our learning and development at that stage. Subsequent to this, I told you around 93, 94, I did my post-graduation in management. I did my Masters in Marketing Management, which is basically an MBA in marketing from Jawaharlal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. It was an evening class where I could get time, and whenever I had time, I could go there for the classes. It went on for nearly 3 years, because normal class, contract class is 2 years, but evening classes are normally a year longer. I completed that. I had difficulty in completing, but I finished that. And subsequently went for 2-3 other assignments. I was also looking after training in Dronacharya, which is in Cochin. Subsequent to that, I got my final transfer prior to my retirement, premature retirement in 1999. I was in Bangalore in Naval Technical Group inside Bell, and did my reliability and military studies for the Navy from this establishment, and finally I retired in 99.
Very nice, sir. Very inspiring story.
This was the first phase of the Navy.
Yeah.
Second phase, of course, was in the corporate sector, where I joined first an organization called Enabling Technologies, which was a startup at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So these are small email without a PC, highly, I would say, inspired by our local people, and it was in all Indian languages. We could type it in all Indian languages, and we could send emails through telephone lines. We had our servers kept at different places, and that was connected to telephone lines and could send it all over. In fact, the first phase we did it in Karnataka very successfully, and in South India, in Chennai, 2-3 other places, Madurai, and 2-3 other places in Tamil Nadu, same thing in Andhra, 4 places, and Kerala, a couple of places.
Yeah.
But after that, unfortunately, 9/11 came up and the entire organization closed down.
Sir, share the 5 important leadership lessons which you have learned from Army.
In fact, there are many lessons that we learn from the armed forces. The first thing I would like to tell about the armed forces, leadership starts at a very young age in the armed forces. In fact, the organization, the institution, I did my first training was NDA, which is National Defense Academy, which is considered the cradle for leadership in this country, and one of the finest institutions east of US. I can say it with confidence. We start young. It's always good to shape the young mind rather than shape mind which is already having some preconceived notions. When we start young, the first thing we are taught in NDA is that you are as naked as the others. It's a phrase. What I mean is, we come with different backgrounds in our mind, different mindsets, different thinking, different caste, creed, religion, considerations. All that vanish, believe you me, vanish in 24 hours in NDA. Because all of you come down to the brass tacks and are made to do all sorts of, decent punishments. You're all same, you're all together, you're all given a crew cut, haircut, all look same. That's the time we realize we are all same. What separates us is only what we conceive and perceive to be in our minds. In reality, all are same, all are born equal. This is one of the biggest lessons we learn when we start leadership. Subsequent to that, there are many other phases of leadership which are critical. We realize discipline is one of the most important aspects, and we are taught this at a very young age. Discipline in every field of life is important. You'll be surprised. Discipline starts when you get up from the bed. First thing you do is make up your bed. Only that you leave the room. This is taught from birth for me. My father used to ensure that it is done. So this just continued in NDA and continued subsequently. And it continues throughout our lives. Discipline in eating, discipline in doing your normal activities, discipline in going to office on time, discipline in ensuring you treat everyone well, and same consistent treatment to all. Discipline in the way you handle people, equality to all are equal. Discipline in dismissing people when they have done something wrong and appreciating them when they are done well, and so on and so forth. You will find that discipline is there in every part of your life. It is what is discipline? People generally get confused. What is discipline? Discipline is making it a habit to follow certain well-conceived methodologies of working and giving respect to time, not only yours but also others, and ensuring all activities are taken care of. This is the second part of discipline. Third part of discipline is we either lead, follow, or get out of the way. Leading is very important, and that takes place at a later stage. Initially, you're observing what is happening. We are trained, we are still buds, we don't know exactly how to flower out. Thereafter, we start following. You follow a leader, and why in the armed forces leader is so critical is because you imbibe almost everything he does, and later on you become partly like him because you would have imbibed all the good things. You have to be careful not to imbibe the bad thing because everyone has two sides of the same coin. But in service generally we don't show the bad side, but it does ooze out at times. Finally, you get a time when you lead, and that time you lead with all the training that you have and all the experiences you have gathered. If you're not able to do the first two, just get out of the way. You may not be in the right place at the right time. Let others take over, because let us not forget, if you are not putting a heart and mind into the activity, you could endanger other people in the armed forces. When I talked about equality in the first aspect, what I would like to highlight is every person's role is very critical. In the armed forces, I don't know what the other guy is doing. He doesn't know what the other guy is doing, because there are very few people who have to work in a ship. The strength of the people, the performance of the people, and the number of people are optimized. They are critical, because it's a simple arithmetic requirement in armed forces. The leaner you are, the smarter you are in fighting. So only one person knows his job very well, and he is a specialist. And let me be frank with you, even the lowest job, which you think is lowest, is as critical as a commanding officer's job. For all you know, he may have to flick a switch when it is required. If he doesn't do it at the right time, it could endanger the ship, it could give the position of the ship away, and you would all be going down in the water. This is the important aspect. And finally, motivation, which is a very important part of leadership. How does motivation come? We all know the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the 5. They are all basic things which we learn in management. But to put it into practice, how do you do it? It's very simple. Just look after your people. Hear them out. Come down to their level. Do not be at the level you're in. Come down to their level. Understand what their problems are, and just get the problems away. Automatically they will come with you. They are very intelligent, the people under you. They know exactly what is needed at the hour of need, and if they know that their leader is with them, or their colleagues are with them and helping them, they will go all out and fight. They are not bothered over what happens. Many times ships sail out for missions of 15 days, 20 days. We leave out 1 or 2 people who may be having some little problem, or maybe not medically fit, because there are many people on board. Their job is as important as a job people who are on board. Their job is to look after the welfare of the people they leave behind, the families of people. They visit, they see what is their problem, and the entire team lives as a group. And last but not the least is teamwork. I've already explained this in the earlier points. Everyone is important, and you have to take success and failure in the same spirit. We cannot brandish people if they fail or you fail because of others, because every failure is a stepping stone for success. You learn a lot from it. And as far as the failures are concerned, as far as the success are concerned, you ensure the success is given to your people, not to you. The credit of success is always given to your team. First, always, at every time. Finally, whatever remnants are there, you take it gracefully and quietly, because service always teaches you it is service before self, and your men before you in all considerations.
Very nice, sir. Very inspiring and very motivating lessons, especially for the leaders, those who are working in the corporate. Share something about, sir, your experience from IIT.
In fact, I was fortunate to have been selected and had the opportunity to go into the IIT. It was IIT Kanpur, which was at that time one of the finest institutions. It was only next to Indian Institute of Sciences at my time, way back in 82 to 84 that I was there for 2 years. The advantage that IIT faces over the other institutions in the country is the class of people who train it. There are some very, very fine teachers. They are so qualified and so, I would say, deeply involved in the academics, and their knowledge is so deep that we are able to get the best from them. Academic quality of education is very good, and the curriculum that is there is very challenging. It challenges you to do everything, and the examination system is something which is absolutely mind-boggling. I have had instances wherein the question papers have been given to me and I have not been able to complete it within the specified time. The teacher has told me, take it home, refer, go to the library, refer whatever you want, and come back with the answers tomorrow. I don't think there's any other way of teaching people how to learn the subject, because there is no way you can get away from learning the subject. And education, knowledge is vital when you're faced with challenges. If everything is going well, you're not challenged. That's not something which challenges your academic acumen. Your acumen is challenged when you are forced to do things which are not normal. It's away from the normal. And probably the greatest thing IIT teaches you is lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is very critical because I may be a very good engineer, I may have a lot of inputs, I may know most of the, basically electronics and electrical engineering, I may know a lot of things and be proud of it. But ultimately I have to exploit the education I have. So you have to think laterally, you have to know where to look, you have to know what to do, you should be in a position to look at various papers and get and extract the information that you need.
Great, sir. Compared to all the three arms of defense, what is the importance of Navy, sir?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Pankajji. Actually, if you see in the history of the world, Air Force is the youngest arm because the planes came in only last century, effectively. So, but the importance or the sizes that, as we have seen, Navy traditionally has been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, because seafarers have come in from the west